Hey guys and girls, it's Hannah Saber from HR Images. In today's video, we'll be reviewing the brand new Sony 7200 f2.8 GM Mark II. So stay tuned. Sony has dropped another bombshell out at us after the 7.4, around the time of the same as 7.4. So they've been releasing a lot of different bodies, lenses have been coming out. Now, the 7200, I've actually sold my GM Mark I. In this video, I'm actually going to go through and tell you my first impression of this lens and why I'm actually upgrading to this lens comparing to the Mark I. Everyone's been asking me, why did I sell it? What's the difference for me to be able to jump to the Mark II versions? So this is why I'm doing this review on this. I am actually shooting a wedding, two weddings coming up, end of the next month, early next month, and I'm actually trying to get my own copy, or if I can borrow this again from Sony Australia, to actually do a real world review on this lens during a wedding, especially being a fast-paced environment. You know, you have no time to sit there and plan things, you know, how this lens will perform, you know, especially with the A7 IV. But I'm not too sure about that 100%. So I'm going to do a first impression review for now about this lens. One thing I actually loved about this lens once it has been released was it's actually a bit smaller than the actual GM. The original version. There's not too much of a difference, but it is smaller in height, but it is actually a lot lighter than the Mark I. It actually, for me, using the 7200 f4 version, it actually felt more like the f4 version opposed to the Mark I. So it's a lot lighter, and comparing it to the Mark I, having it mounted onto the camera, it's actually more balanced. Whereas the Mark I version, when you're holding it in your hand, you actually feel like it's more front mount heavy, whereas this one, it gives more of a nicer balance in the camera, and it does not feel front mount heavy or anything. It just gives that amazing balance to it. And this is one thing I loved about it, was the lightweight of this lens being great to have into your bag and not adding extra weight into your travel bag or weddings or whatever. So it's like when you're on the go, you want, with mirrorless these days, you want lightweight, and this is what the 7200 GM Mark II has done, comparing it to the predecessor. You would have seen my A7 IV review. If you haven't, do check that out. It's actually on my channel. I've actually done a behind the scenes Red Riding Hood shoot with the A7 IV and the 7200 on this shoot, this whole shoot. I will be showing some clips in this review using this lens, and while I'm talking about it, I'm showing you some image samples with it as well. And I will have a separate behind the scenes video just solely on that shoot. With the 7200 GM, one thing I did love compared with all the GM lenses was the aperture ring. So with the 7200, Sony has implemented the aperture ring in the 7200. Some people say they don't like that, but me personally, I love the aperture ring. Just being able to hold, just when you're shooting and you're holding, instead of you going to the aperture or whatever here, I'm actually changing the aperture on the ring, while the aperture I normally have it set in the front, while the back is a shutter. So I'll just be changing the aperture ring and changing my aperture and adjusting my shutter at the same time while you're on the go shooting, opposed to, you know, constantly doing this. You know, I don't know, for me, it felt like I was saving a bit more time, and just to have that versatility with the aperture ring on the 7200 with like the other GM lenses, I just love that. That was actually one of my favorite feature of all the GM lenses. With the 7200, you still got your focus hold button, you still got your AF, you got the mode changes, you got your focus limiter as well, whether you want full or infinity. You have optical stabilization, as well as you got the mode. From memory, the mode, you can actually change it depending on whether you're panning or doing different sort of things. I haven't really tested that or haven't really used it on the Mark I version. So I'm not 100% sure with that feature. Another thing I did love about this lens and why I'm actually getting this lens, shooting weddings or events, especially when you're doing detail shots. With the 7200 GM, the Mark 1, you can't get close for detail. You're going to intend to crop on your images just to get that close detail. Whereas this lens, it focuses, minimum focus distance for this lens is 40 centimeters, which is absolutely insane. I'm shooting an engagement and the couple is hugging each other, natural hug. I'm taking photos and I saw her ring on her hand behind her partner's back. I went in close, having a 70mm, went in close as possible, getting that nice detail with the ring. Now I could have gone a lot closer, but I didn't want it to go too close just to be able to cut the fingers and arm out to make it look a bit funny. I went enough just to have a nice frame, but I could have gone closer. In this image, this is actually very big, going the maximum at 40 centimeters. Any further closer, I would not have been able to focus. So this is actually at 40 centimeters minimum focus distance. And you can see how insanely close this lens can get to your subject, which is great. When you're shooting weddings and you are planning to, you have some detail shots on the table and you don't have time to change lenses or anything, you've got the 7200, you can be able to get that close-up detail shot with this lens. Great for wildlife. I've shot some wildlife for this. There are times where I would love the 200 to 600, but shooting in crop mode on the A7 IV with this lens at 200mm, being able to get nice and close to my subject. If I did want it, I am planning to actually get a 2x converter just to get that little extra reach and keeping the 7200, but that's still sort of on the tables. I personally feel this lens is definitely worth the upgrade comparing to the Mark 1 version, especially if you want something light and an f2.8 having the very similar weight to the f4 version. This is really a no-brainer. So if you have not had the 7200 f2.8 but you're looking to get it, have a look at the Mark II. It is a lot lighter and it's a little bit more compact comparing it to the Mark 1 series. With the 7200 as well, it does amazing bokeh as well in a lot of the images. When you're seeing my Red Riding Hood shoot or any of these close-up images that I'm showing you, just how buttery that bokeh is, and it's a sharp lens. Focusing is actually a bit faster. It's actually faster than the actual Mark 1 version as well. So they've improved the focusing as well to be able to keep up for video purposes as well as the photography in terms of wildlife or any fast moving subjects. That concludes just a quick first impression review on this lens and my thoughts and why I'm actually getting this lens. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please like and share and subscribe to this channel. Until then, we'll catch you for future videos. See you guys.